Good morning, party people. How's it going? It is another beautiful, I say beautiful, but I mean, we got some clouds back here in San Diego. I haven't looked to see what the temperature or anything is supposed to be like today. Almost had a minor air conditioning emergency in my house. I couldn't figure out how to make the air conditioning turn off. We've got one of those digital thermostat type deals, and I was in there clicking like crazy. I'm like, it's freezing in here. I want to broadcast for once without having like 3 layers of clothes on, all kinds of sweatshirts and stuff. So this morning, I'm going to be talking about querying Aurora Postgres. So we have this monitoring application called SQL Constant Care that goes in and pulls data from your SQL servers once a day. We've got around about 4,000 folks or 4,000 servers in. I want to say it was like 450, 500 users the last time I looked at it. And they send in their data once a day. Well, it all comes into our central Aurora server, Aurora Postgres. So today I'm going to be like totally shifting gears. I'm going to be using Azure Data Studio from Microsoft to query Postgres, a database up in the cloud being hosted in Amazon, and probably showing you Jupyter notebooks and some other cool stuff that I find really intriguing, not necessarily useful for SQL Server DBAs in their day-to-day lives or data professionals. But it might be interesting for you to see how some of the other tools work. Plus, if you're into SQL Server, the data that I'm going to be querying is all basically the DMVs, the dynamic management views from SQL Server. We just collect it all into our server, and then so you'll see how some of the DMVs work. Techno Viking, good to see you this morning as well. So let's go get started. I'm going to start by introducing the thing that I'm trying to build. So once a quarter, I've been putting out this population report over on the blog. Hey, there's me. I've been oh, that's kind of funny. I can kind of stand right over it and then I've been putting together this population report over on the blog, and I've been saying what's the adoption rates look like? What are large SQL servers? What are small SQL servers? To help people get a feeling for what the market overall is like. This isn't a perfect picture. Good morning, Copenhagen, or afternoon, I suppose it is over there. This isn't a perfect picture across all SQL servers. Obviously, it's only the ones who are using SQL Constant Care. Good morning, Vasi. So I don't want people to think that this represents a true overall average of all of the SQL servers out there. It's just a picture of the people who subscribe to SQL Constant Care. Richie does have a good point. Yes, Richie's correct. The database is absolutely perfect. Woohoo! So the last time I did this 3 months ago, I try to do it every 3 months, we had about 3,570 servers of folks who had opted into SQL Dev DBA. Thank you. I appreciate that. Y'all's subscriptions are what keeps me motivated to continue doing the free streaming and the content thing, especially while we're stuck here in quarantine. Little behind the scenes. For those of you who don't know, if you have like Amazon Prime, you can set up for Twitch Prime at no extra cost, and then you can subscribe to specific channels, and then the broadcasters get a little kickback there. Doesn't cost you anything extra. So in order to produce this, I'm going to scroll down and give you an idea of the blog posts that we're going to be working on. So here I said last time, what versions are the most popular? What editions are the most popular? So here it looked like last time we had something like 1 or 2% of the SQL servers were 2019. This is really one of the big reasons why I do it, is I know that if you watch conferences, if you watch Orlando, very nice, and Richie's down in South Florida too as well. If you watch conferences or online marketing videos, it's going to sound like everybody's gone to Kubernetes on Linux and you're being left behind because you're not in Azure SQL, whatever. But the reality for that isn't quite truly the same. There's still the reality is that most of us are still on SQL 2014, 2016, 2017. So this helps to kind of reset those perspectives. Then if we go a little further down, we talk about what versions people are using in development, how much data different SQL servers have, like what's normal. The majority of databases out there have less than a couple of database servers have less than a couple hundred gigs worth of files altogether. So where am I getting this data from? Morning, folks. Several folks from over in the EU joining us this morning. Not that Morocco's in the EU for Foxy Res. My geography sucks as an American, but I'm not quite that bad. So where am I getting this data from? So Richie and I work together on this thing called SQL Constant Care, where y'all send your data in, and Richie's basically laid out the database schema. Now it's time to shift gears and go over into the database itself. In order to query it, I'm going to use Azure Data Studio. Now, I'm curious how many of you have or have not seen Azure Data Studio before. Leave a comment over in the chat and say, yes, I've seen Azure Data Studio before, or no, I have not seen Azure Data Studio before. And if you use it, I find that even more intriguing if you actually use this thing. All right, Spare Delete says no. I'll give you all 10 seconds to say whether you've seen it or used it before.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so it's a mix all over the place. Microsoft is kind of marketing Azure Data Studio as the new tool for people who write queries. Oh, Daniel Hutmacher, good to see you, sir. It's the new tool for people who write queries, and it's compatible on the back end with both Postgres and SQL Server and all kinds of other stuff. So I love it because it feels like custom made just for me, because I spend both my time split back and forth between SQL Server and Postgres, and this works with both. Now, the way that you usually use it in terms of writing queries is like what you see here on the screen. I've got a big, long CTE plus a query that I've written inside here. If I just go through and execute it, I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and I'm going to go hit run. It'll go ask me what database I want to connect to. Got a bunch of SQL servers up here. I'm going to be using a read-only replica up in the cloud for our Constant Care service. And then it's got results in here, just like that. TechnoViking, I think it works with MySQL and MariaDB. Don't quote me, though. I'm not 100% sure on that, just because I don't use MySQL that much. Nothing against it. I just don't use it. So here you have your results pane, and then one of the things that I absolutely love about it is over on the far right-hand side there, you get these icons to export to a table, into Excel if you want, all kinds of stuff. Waterworld fan. There has to be a story there. Cheers, Waterworld fan. Thank you. So this right here, the bulk of the data that you're seeing here, this is how I usually build that blog post. And I'm going to make my little connections list over on the side go away for a second. So here you can start to see the kind of stuff that I use in order to build that report. Now, I'm going to zoom way back now, and I'm going to show you where this data comes from, kind of how the data is structured inside our database. But this will be the thing that I'm basically replacing. This, I could just execute this query, copy paste this into Excel, or use the export to Excel feature, and then I could start building a pivot table. I want to do something this time around. I'm going to try to get it to work in a notebook, and that's where things are going to look a little cool inside here. I'm going to try to do my reporting just inside of Azure Data Studio without having to jump back and forth in Excel. I don't know if it's going to work. I have no idea. I haven't tried it yet, but that's why I figured I would stream it with y'all. So the CTE, I always got to remember the command to hide the result sets, because all the keyboard shortcuts are just a little bit different than SQL Server Management Studio. So big, long CTE plus all kinds of other stuff jumping around to other tables. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about how we're hosting the data. The thing over on the left-hand side is a lot like Object Explorer over in SQL Server Management Studio. If I go over here, here's the replica that I'm querying, Constant Care Reader. I can go expand databases. We're in the Constant Care database, and then tables. And here I can see the tables that we've built for SQL Constant Care. Some of them are unique to us, like Richie designed, for example, collection file, collection rule, collection run, collection server. These are all tables where every time one of you wonderful customers sends in your data, it goes into these collection tables. Like here's a collection for SQL ABC over in, Florida. Then for every one of the servers, we have all these tables down here. And you're going to recognize a lot of these tables down here, because these are the same things that you have on premises. For example, if I go in here to say, I'm just going to start picking a couple at random, say server property Or if I look at sys databases, I'm not going to expand, or I'm not going to show you the contents of it, of course, because it'll have things that are personally identifiable when we start to talk about people's database names. Theoretically, your database name could be an industry secret. But you can see in here that we basically collect the same stuff that's in the DMVs. We don't collect all of it because a lot of the columns are useless to us. We just don't run any kind of analysis on it. However, if I go down and look at some of these, for example, performance counters, sysdm OS schedulers, that's a good one. This is where your CPU cores are at. So if I want to go get some of this data, I can go copy it and say select star from sysdm OS schedulers, limit 100. Then I can go run that query, and it'll show me the contents of sysdm OS schedulers. It's broken out across different users and different connections. Each user has a whole bunch of connections. Every time that they send in data to us for a server, that's called a connection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble all of this data together up into reports in different graphs. And this is where things are going to start becoming a little weird as you get to watch me write different queries. How much data are we dealing with here in each of these tables? Well, Postgres, you can go in and see how large your different table sizes are. This query will go show me how big each of the tables is. So here you can see that in sysindex columns, we've got 104 gigs of data. Index operational stats, we've got 97 gigs of data, partition stats, backup set, and so forth. Y'all happen to do a lot of backups, which is kind of cool. How many rows have we got in each of those? Just to give you a feeling for how fast some of these queries respond or how slow some of these queries respond. How many rows have we got across, say, 100 gigs? Well, you can also go and query in Postgres roughly how many rows a table has. This is kind of like looking at statistics in SQL Server. 1 billion fries. So, and the reason that that table is so large is that every index has a row in here for every column. And then we're tracking that across all of the databases, across all the servers that we have, and every server has sent in data multiple times across the last, say, 30 days. We keep about 30 days worth of metrics inside here. Doesn't do us any good to keep older metrics. I try to be a database administrator who believes in purging. I'm not actually the administrator. Richie does all the work. But I try to purge as much as I can. I don't want extra old data. I'm really only concerned with what's been happening lately. You could make an argument that there would be a value towards trending data over longer periods of time. For example, seeing how SQL Server 2019 first performed with the original release to manufacturing build versus what it does with the latest cumulative updates. The reality is there's just only so many hours in the day to run analysis queries. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. So we're talking about fairly decently large tables here up on the high end. On the smaller ones, if we start to get into, say, sys database query store, because not a lot of people are using that, sys database files, things get a whole lot smaller as we start to get in here towards more small DMVs. So now I want to go through and run that big monster query again that analyzes the customers who have opted into sharing their data. So what this query does is it lays out all the attributes. It says things like what version they're running, what edition they're running. That's cool, but now I want to start aggregating this stuff together inside Aurora and Azure Data Studio instead of copy pasting it out to Excel. So how am I going to do this? There's a thing called a notebook. Now let me stop for a second. You know how in the old days when you would want to send someone data, you would copy paste stuff from SQL Server Management Studio, you would copy paste it into Excel, and the query that built the results was separate from the results themselves. And then when you paste it into Excel, you also had to send in some kind of explanation as to what you were doing. You'd have to type in and say like, what's down below represents blah, 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 blah. Well, notebooks originally started out in I think the data science community. It wasn't something that was Microsoft focused at all. The data science community needed to be able to type and tell a story and then show a piece of code and then show the results from that code and then keep typing and give more explanations for stuff. So a notebook is one file that you could almost think of it as like a notebook that you pass around between people, that it has your scribbled notes and some drawn out examples of things. I adore notebooks. They're amazing, except there's one gotcha. They don't include execution plans. If I could get execution plan support in there, you would see me switch all of my training over to notebooks tomorrow. That's how big of a believer I am. But of course, since I'm a performance tuner, I need execution plans. If I don't have that, it isn't very useful to me. I still think it's going to be useful to you, though, because I bet a lot of you have to pass data around back and forth to people, or you have to build run books. You have to build run books for your juniors, like here's how you troubleshoot a cluster. Here's how you check to see if the sales ETL process is working. Here's how you check to build a monthly report for the data warehouse team, whatever. So notebooks are something that are built into Azure Data Studio. They're in other tools too. It's just that Azure Data Studio focuses on notebooks that are either about SQL, R or Python, or also PowerShell. And SQL Dev DBA points out that it's also great that Azure Data Studio has macOS support. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. That's one of the reasons that I feel like it was almost like custom built for me, because I use a Mac in my daily driving type work. So now when I'm doing stuff that Azure Data Studio supports, I don't have to bother opening up a VM with SQL Server Management Studio. So let's go see how notebooks work in Azure Data Studio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to my server list. And then over on Constant Care Reader, I'm going to right click on here and say New Notebook. Now notebooks, I can have a combination of code and text, and I can jump back and forth between the two. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a text, because in a perfect world, if this works right, I'm going to distribute the population report in notebook format so that y'all can go open it and play with it as well. So I'm going to say add a text cell. Now when you type in notebooks, it uses Markdown. I'm a huge believer in Markdown formatting. It's like what you see is what you get word processor that only requires text. It's a beautiful format. If I put in £1 or one hash or one stroopwafel or something like that, if I put in one hash and I say SQL constant care population report spring 2020, June, we'll say May 30th, Brent Ozar. Every quarter, I put together a list of, so you can put all kinds of stuff in here, blah, blah, blah. Charlie Brown's parents. You can also do things like bulleted lists. You see the little format things up there. You don't have to reach for those. You can really just do them in text. So like if I say, this is a big deal, this is also a big deal, this is not. So it's really cool. She's keeping track on me, making sure that I'm using the readable secondary. Because of course we have a primary too that's actively taking uploads from folks and processing their data. I try to, especially because I try to write pretty decent queries, not great queries, so I try to use the reader as much as I can. So I'm going to come back after the webcast and I'm going to type in my explanations that'll go up at the top in the workbook. I'm less concerned about that than I am the queries themselves. Let's hop back over to the blog post and let's see what's the first question we need to answer. What versions are the most popular? So let's go write that. So we have, say, what versions are the most popular? Now you notice that I put in 2 hash signs here, and then that made it a little smaller of a title. So now I got my text cell up here. Isn't that kind of nice? Just kind of a nice what you see is what you get. Now let's add a query. So I'm going to click on Add Code, and now I'm going to be able to copy paste or just totally flat out write queries inside here. Like I can say select star from collection rule, or if I want select star from sys dm OS memory nodes limit 100. See how I'm getting autocomplete inside here? You get the same autocomplete that you get over in the normal query editor. Sparedelice says that is cool. I totally agree. I think this is really slick. Now here's where the really cool stuff comes in. I can click Run Cell, and it runs the query that's just inside this cell, and the data's inside here in the notebook. So when I save this notebook and I upload it to like our website, if I want to distribute it, y'all can open this file up and you can go down and see, all right, here's the query that he wrote, and you can click in there and copy paste it. Now you won't be able to hit play since this data lives up on my server. But if I was writing, for example, DMV queries, stuff on how to use SP Blitz, I agree, Craig, I think this is brilliant. Or for your own, you know, how many times have you had to write a report for someone and you had to kind of explain what you were doing as you worked through it? Well, now you can, and then they can even open this up and they can dump it out to Excel. They can put it into a line chart if they want. There are different charting type options. I'm actually not going to do charting in here just yet. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my query that I want to use in order to figure out what versions are the most popular. So let's go nail that down. I'm going to go over to the other query that I've written before that has the addition, it has product version major and minor. I think I need product version major and minor in order to determine what builds people are on. For those of you who don't do a whole lot of DMV querying, it's like version 11 is SQL Server 2012. Dan McNamara, thank you. I appreciate it. Very cool. Version 14 in here is SQL Server 2017, 14 is 2017, 15 is 2019, and so forth. So these two are the columns that I really need, product version major and minor. Let's go see what we need to do in order to pull that out. Let's see here. I think I've got that just in this CTE here. This should be absolutely beautiful. I'm going to copy that out, go over to my notebook, and then I'm going to paste this into here. And I'm going to clean up the formatting just a little bit. There is a brand new SQL prompt. Redgate makes this product called SQL prompt that has things like IntelliSense for Azure Data Studio. I didn't install it. Oh, Woods and Goods. That's kind of cool name. Thank you, Woods and Goods. I appreciate it. I didn't install Redgate SQL prompt only because I was just getting ready to do the webcast and I didn't want to change the environment at all in a way that would break it. Sometimes, I mean, you know, it's open source. When it breaks, you get to keep both pieces. So in here I have, let's go see what we have. Before I tell you what I have, why don't I just go do it. So let's run this. I'm going to take a quick glance through just to make sure that there's nothing personally identifiable that I'm worried about with happening. And then let's go run the query and then go see what happens. Okay, so we've got 3,880 rows. This has a lot of stuff plus stuff I don't need. Eamon says it was very exciting to see you're using ADS. Was waiting for that to use it also. And good to see you this afternoon. Afternoon for you. So I've got product version major and minor. I really just want major and minor for this. So let's go get just those two columns. And then I'm going to say someone as servers. So let's run that query again. And it sure helps if you put in a group by there. Moron. Group by, and then copy this out. Copy, boom. Paste to, and that should do it. Let's see, play. Woo! Awesome. We're getting really close. So now we have the product version and product version minor. So the gotcha with minor is SQL Server 2008 R2 was when they called it version 10.5. So I got to include that one as well. Now, when you're querying in here, there's another gotcha, Azure. So Azure reports its version as like version 12, if I remember right. So let's go back over and see. When I first ran this original query, let's go paste him into a new window just so that I've got him just by himself. I'm anal retentive about ending with a semicolon. Oh, Angel Lanier. I want to say something along the lines of, there's an angel in here, except that's going to be absolutely terrible. That's not going to go well. So I think I also need addition, because addition sometimes says SQL Azure. Let's go see where I'm going to put in and addition addition is like Azure. Just to see if how many different things that we have that are SQL Azure. And because I'm looking to see if they put anything in here about like managed instances. Engine addition in server properties designates different kinds of Azure. This is where whenever you're querying the DMVs, some knowledge of SQL Server and the contents of those DMVs starts to come in helpful. So I'm going to go show you, we're going to go look at engine addition just so that you can see there's something out there called the documentation, and I know you're going to have a hard time believing that this exists. SQL Server property. So if I go look at server property, this is where we're getting this data from, and I scroll down here, engine addition, there it is. That's the part that I want right there. So engine addition, this tells me what kind of SQL Server it is. So if it's addition number 5, that's Azure SQL DB. 6 is Azure Synapse Analytics. I swear to God, I know somebody from Microsoft is watching this, but will you just pick one name for that product? Data Allegro, Parallel Data Warehouse, Azure Data Warehouse, Massively Parallel, Azure Synapse Analytics. The thing that's holding it back isn't the name. The name is fine. Leave it. Stop touching the name. Just when people start to get used to a product and you change the name, how about if we change your name instead? If you want to start changing names, go down to the DMV, go get a change. I'm pissed about that one. That's just utterly ridiculous. That's marketing amateur hour. Hi, folks. Today I'm Fred Benzoil. I know you were used to Brent Ozar, but I'm somebody totally different. So, coming back out of there, that's why I can't have nice things. So I'm going to have to do something with server props engine addition 2 as well. So let's go back over to our notebook. And so case when, boom, equals, what was the number? It was 5. Then Azure SQL DB. When props engine addition equals 6, then what the hell did they call this thing this week? Azure Synapse Analytics. What a load of garbage. Azure Synapse Analytics when props engine addition equals 8. Thank you. So you, an anonymous cheer agrees with that, evidently. Then this is Azure SQL DB managed instance. And then Azure SQL Edge. Well, I guarantee you we don't have any of those. And when props engine addition equals 9, then what was that thing called? Azure SQL Edge. Okay, cool. Else SQL Server. And I think that's how you do a case. I'm not 100% exactly sure. Let's go hit execute. What's the worst that could happen? It's not included in the group by. Okay, all right. I don't want to group necessarily by that. Hanny says, good that they stopped at 9. They stopped at 8 a little while ago, and then they added edge, and they're like, oh, it should be something totally different. Let's see if I can group by that particular string. Let's try that. Yay, it worked. Yay. Okay, so now I kind of want an order by inside here, so we'll say order by, and I'm going to put that case, this first thing up at the front, because I think that's just a little bit more classy. So let's move that up to the top, paste, and then that's perfect. So order by, I'm going to do something I know you're not going to be happy with, and I don't really, frankly, care. Order by 1, 2, 3. Richie said, I didn't know about Engine Edition 9. I don't think anyone in the world knows about Engine Edition 9. I think it's a really interesting idea. Azure SQL Edge, meaning that you can run SQL Server on a Raspberry Pi. When they first said this, I'm like, from a licensing perspective, that is utterly stupid. Like that they're going to have to do something different in terms of licensing. Thankfully, they did. They said right now, the way the licensing looks, last time I looked at it, you can use it for things on like a Raspberry Pi if it's bundled with an application. But they're not saying like standalone prices on it yet, which totally makes sense. Okay, so now you see why I had to break out the Azure stuff, because it reports itself as version 12, because I guess when SQL Server designed Azure, they thought it was about as good as SQL Server 2014, but that's about it. So then we have the rest of these. You know what I should really do? Havitguler from Norway? I can always forget if it's Norway or the Netherlands. Could have put the column name after the case and skip repeating its name on each condition. I thought about that, but see, here's the thing that I really want to do. Watch this. I'm actually thinking ahead. I know it's hard to believe, but what I want is one column that has all the stuff I need in it so that it's going to end up graphing and looking a little better. So I know this is unbelievable. Check this out. When split part this equals Iceland. It is Iceland, which I'm so bummed about. We read all the Iceland newspapers every single day, and I saw the Blue Lagoon doing layoffs, and I'm like, oh, I want to be over there as soon as possible. My wife and I even just like looked at what it would take to just go fly over there for like a month and just go over there for a month. Now I'm waiting to see. We're kind of watching and waiting to see how the whole testing goes as new foreigners come over, like how that testing piece works. Your country just has it in the bag. It's amazing. So when this equals 10 and this equals 0, then SQL Server 2008, for example, then, and I forgot that equals 0. I'm missing something there, 0. So this will be 50, then SQL Server 2008 R2. So let's see if this works the way I expect it to work, and then we'll keep building it out if it does work actually that way. Text equals... One of the things, I'll just stop and say for a second. One of the things that I really miss when I switch back and forth between SQL Server and Postgres is that SQL Server does such a job of implicit conversion. SQL Server can figure out how to automatically convert strings to numbers and numbers to strings with minimal amounts of work on your part. Postgres needs a little bit of a helping hand to say, hey buddy, this is the side I want you to compare. So I'm going to have to I'll do Joris's trick here of casting one of them to an integer. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to do it. So here I'm going to say, I want to say that this is how it works. Bang, bang, integer, yeah. So then I'm going to say this, then this. Thank you for following, Experior. Welcome to the club. Paste this over here, and let's see if this works. Props Engine Edition must be included in the group by. Oh, that's not entirely true. It's that I did something fancier inside here, so I'm going to have to do this. Then let's see if that works. Run. And ta-da! Woo! Well, kind of, sort of. Yes. Oh, no, beautifully. Oh, that works just fantastically. So here I get these numbers down at the bottom. Diego says group by 1, 2, 3. Oh, Diego. Oh, Diego. If that works, I never thought about doing a group by in here with that. If that works, thank you, Diego. That's absolutely awesome. That's so much more elegant there. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, MCon says, cool t-shirt. Thank you, I appreciate it. So I'm a really big travel guy in Boeing. I fly a lot. So this is a play on jet fans. So fanboy of travel, that kind of thing. Okay, nice job, Diego. So now let's finish it out with the other versions. So we'll go, I don't need split part for the second part of the version. So now I can just say when it's 11, then 2012. And we'll do this for the other ones. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. 17, 19. And then this is 12, 13, 14, 15. SQL Server Futurama, because we haven't quite figured out what the other ones are yet. And let's go see. Ta-da! Woo! Well, you shouldn't be laughing. I know my query is absolutely terrible, but look, the idea is that we get the results across. So now I have something that I could actually put out to folks and customers. Hell, I don't need product version and product version minor anymore. I can totally get rid of those to just kind of clean up my query results. Go put that in, and now I only need to group by one, order by one. And that'll make it just a little bit tighter in there. Just make sure that that works. Absolutely beautiful. Now I can finally do a graph. Tajareb says group by is supposed to be evaluated first. For that, go hit somebody's thing on anybody's post on logical query order of operations. It's beyond what I'm going to go tackle inside here. So let's save this thing. Where the hell? You would think that there would be a disk icon up at the top, but I'm going to go click File, Save As. And I am going to go put it in my SQL Constant Care folder, and I'm going to call this SQL Constant Care Population Report, whippersnapper, spring 2020 spring. And save that. So now the cool part is that this has the query built right into it, and I can give y'all this and let you play with it. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go switch it into a graph, and here's my goal. Let me go back over to the blog post. So the blog post that I did, the only reason I did this is I wanted to work really fast. I wanted to work really quickly. I set myself a 2-hour limit on building this blog post, and I talk about it inside the blog post. I'm like, look, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on this muffler. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this blog post. So I use just quick and easy Excel formatting, and it looks like a dog's behind. I mean, it doesn't look good at all. So let's see if I can do this. This is my big hope, is if I do this in Azure Data Studio and I use the charting inside there, is it going to look a little bit better? So drum roll. Now I will go click on the little Show Chart button, and let's see what we get. Okay, look. Well, wait. Okay, hold on. This does look also like dog butt, but what if, see how it says down here case and servers? Maybe this is my fault for when I built the data set. When I built the data set, I didn't name this column, so let's name this as SQL Server version, and then as long as we know this is going on the chart, we'll just put this as an uppercase here. Side note, I really wish that we didn't have, like, obviously this is an IntelliSense type problem because the query works just fine, but you know, okay, whatever. So let's go give that a shot again. Let's go run it. And so this is another kind of goofy thing. When you save stuff inside Azure Data Studio, it seems to be like, what server am I on now? You saved me. I completely forgot where I am. So now I got to go back and go, look, buddy, I got a little bit of amnesia here. You're on the Constant Care Reader replica. And every time you save the file, you have this same problem. Kind of jumps back and forgets where he is. Okay, so now it's a lowercase instead of uppercase. All right, whatever. Let's go hit the bar graph and go see, and okay, there's a configure chart. So let's go configure the chart, and let's see. Bar type horizontal. Use first column as row label. Oh yes. Oh yes. 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 Not really. it's kind of crappy because it doesn't really put the labels right underneath. Okay, hold on. Let's configure the chart again. Legend position. Bottom? Yeah, it doesn't really help me that much either. How about the other chart types? Let's try the other chart types. Count, 1, 2, 3, chocula. That's terrible. That looks even worse. Okay, that's not good. Let's try the chart again and configure it. Let's see here. Donut. I like donuts. Oh, come on now. Oh, use the first column as a label. Oh, okay, all right. So there we go. So at least that got. But without the labels right there, this isn't very useful either. So let me go configure the chart again. Let's try pie charts. All my data analysis friends make fun of me whenever I do that, so I'm not going to go near that. We tried bar. Let's try horizontal bar and use the first column as a row label. I wish it would show. I wish it would just put the damn labels right next to the. I don't think I can ship this. It's really close. It's really close. I don't think I can quite ship this though. This isn't something that I would want to have on the blog. Well, okay, let me put it, it's not much worse than the Excel version. It's worse. It's not much worse though. I might rock and roll with this just in order. You know what? I am going to rock and roll with this. Let me tell you why. So not only am I tracking the status of the SQL Server population over time, so I'm basically showing what adoption rates look like, and I'm going to start comparing, once we get to the 1 year mark, I'm going to start comparing adoption today versus 1 year ago so people can see how quickly or slowly new SQL Server versions get adopted. You know what? If I post a blog post and it looks like this, if it looks like a cat butt, as Richie would say, maybe it'll encourage Microsoft to make better looking charts inside here because other people will see this and go, oh yeah, you're right, this isn't quite ready for prime time. So screw it, I'm gonna ship it. Off they go. Mac Genie says, can't you set the y-axis label? Let's go see. So it says up here, y-axis label, let's say Mac Genie 01 and say okay. And great, Mac Genie 01, there you go. It's right there. It's not really that good. Wilfred says, try Sand Dance. Okay, cool. I'm gonna. Oh, wait, I know how to say. Here, that means when I have my hourglass, right? Chugga, 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 chugga. Da, 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 da. Is that any better? Oh, yeah, it is better. Oh, evidently it's a subscription dance. Blaine Trimmel just subscribed. Woo! I'll keep dancing. No, I'm being humorous, obviously. So Sandance is this extension that you're supposed to be able to install in here. So what I'm going to do, I've never installed it before, but I was reading about it this morning, and I was like, well, let's go see. So let's see how you install Sandance. Now, normally there are plugins, extensions over here. Let's go say Sandance for Azure Data Studio, install, because, you know, it's out on the internet. I'll take anything that anybody gives me. Installed. There's a little button here to preview. Okay, it looks like it's set to go. Now I'm watching this animated GIF. No idea what the hell's going on. Ah, anonymous cheer. Cheers again with the Sandance. Oh, I should probably keep doing that. I have no idea what the hell, how do I get there inside of a notebook? So I've installed it. If I look over here, let me try rerunning the query again, and we'll see if anything about Sandance shows up. Nothing about Sandance shows up there. Let's try the configure chart button. Does it say Sandance? It does not. So now how do I get to Sandance from here? How do I get to run a Sandance feature contributions, change log usage? Right click on a CSV or TSV file. In a query results plan, click the visualizer icon. What is the visualizer icon? Maybe it's this thing over here. All right, so let's see if we have that. So let's see, in a results pane, let's go back to the results, click the visualizer icon. I don't see a visualizer icon. I'm guessing that maybe they mean it's not in notebooks, or maybe I have to exit and restart. Let's do that. So let's close all our stuff, save that, close you, let's close you, acquiesce, just subscribed. Oh, that's cool. It's kind of like coalesce. I like coalesce. Don't save that one, do save that one, let's quit it. And then let's go back in and give her another shot. Let's try Azure Data Studio again, and then we'll open our recent notebook. Notebooks aren't in the top. Okay. Notebooks aren't in file recent. Okay. Let's try that. Double click on that guy. Okay, so now let's try it again. Let's try running the query again. And I'll go connect to my reader. And then let's see. Nope, I still don't have anything in here about a visualizer icon. Okay. So what I'm probably going to have to do, let's try copy pasting it into a new query window. And then if I copy paste it into a new query window and go run it and tell it I want it in the reader. Now, where the hell? It's over there. Visual icon. Woohoo! It's right over here. Oh, it's over here. Here. So let's go clear it, click on it. Okay, so this is probably a good time. Maybe I need it. Let's try clicking in the thing and then let's click on it. No. Okay. This has been my experience with a lot of stuff inside Azure Data Studio. I want to believe, like Fox Mulder, I really want to believe really bad, but damn it, I have a bad user experience with this. I hate doing stuff like this in front of y'all and having it not work. So like this isn't Wilfred's fault. Wilfred's like, try Sandance. And then I'm like, oh, okay. But this was more effective than that hot mess. That is really frustrating as an end user. And I can see why people aren't really adopting this tool like crazy yet. Now, having said that, I can't use these visualizations inside Sandance. I will use, and Craig says, like an ashtray on a motorbike. That's pretty good. So I can't use the visualizations inside Sandance yet. Maybe they're cool. Maybe it's a problem with a Mac. Who knows? Maybe a problem with an extension, whatever. But so what I will do is I will ship the blog post with the crappy graphs that are built into Azure Data Studio, just as a kind of, hey, here it is. I'm going to ship this and keep right on moving and keep going. But what we'll do, we've been going for about 45 minutes now. I'm going to stop here, take a bio break, and I'm going to go beat a pillow. I'm going to go take a bio break and then go refuel my coffee. And then when we come back, we'll start writing the rest of the queries to go hit the population report. This thing was only originally scheduled to go for an hour, so it's up to y'all if y'all want to bail. I will keep going in here, though, through, you've got me until 8 o'clock. You've got me for 1 more hour. 1 more hour, my coffee shop opens downstairs, and y'all are dead to me. So I will go over and grab some more coffee, and Wilfred says I got also problems, but I was relying on extensive knowledge. You were hoping that I had extensive knowledge, right? Sadly, we were both disappointed. All right, so I will stop here for a 5-minute bio break, and then when we come back, I will keep writing queries against this thing, and we'll live with the graphs that we have. See y'all back in 5 minutes. So Eamon says now that I see you using Azure Data Studio, I don't want to use it. And which of course wasn't my goal, but it's one of those to see, you can really see how it really feels in real life just watching someone else use it. When you watch the demos of it, of course, people have constructed carefully their demos to step around landmines. I just use it. I will say I use it if I had to lay out the top applications that I use, probably number one for all of us is a web browser. In my case, it's Chrome or Safari. I've been trying to switch to Safari. I just still use Chrome a lot because I use a whole lot of Google services. So Chrome, and then to some extent SQL Server Management Studio or Azure Data Studio. I flip back and forth. I like Azure Data Studio. I believe it has a great future. It has a lot of interest, like just being able to query Postgres is a showstopper for me. That's phenomenal. It's wonderful to just use one tool all the time. Welcome to the club, Amsterdam. I don't know why my stream labels aren't working. So the thing that's down at the bottom next to the star is supposed to show y'all who my latest follower and subscriber is. Not know why those aren't working. I just don't know what the deal is with those. Oh well. Every day I'm shuffling. And then another question, somebody said, Mac Genie says, what kind of espresso machine do you have? Nespresso. When I only have like 2-3 minutes in between, jumping in between sessions, I usually prefer to just use my Nespresso. I have 4 other coffee makers. The Technivore Mocha is probably my favorite. Technivore Mocha, I have one of the big ones, so it makes like 12 cups of coffee. Thing is, I just hardly ever drink 12 cups of coffee anymore. I drink like one small thing of espresso in between takes or whatever, but that's about right. French roast pots, AeroPress, all that kind of stuff. I really love good coffee. It's just that I just don't usually want to take the, he only has a Keurig. I saw the most wonderful video on TikTok of someone putting, you know, those little garlic butter things that little, who is it, Papa John's gives you? Papa John's pizza. A lot of you don't know this because you're pizza snobs. That's okay. I'm not. But Papa John's gives you those little garlic butter things. They put the garlic butter thing inside a Keurig and gave it, made a cup of coffee, quote unquote, and gave it to somebody. It was hilarious to see their facial reaction. That was so phenomenal. Catalyst says, it feels like they haven't got the basics right yet. I would argue that they've got the basics right, but this is like icing on the cake. Like graphing. We don't have graphing in Management Studio. We don't have export to Excel in Management Studio, and it's been 20 years, so they've made a huge amount of progress for an analyst focus tool. Like the notebook thing, I adore. It's amazing because I will give y'all the notebook as part of the blog post. The blog post for this will drop on Monday along with this video, and my friends at Microsoft will be like, Brent, you got to stop using our software. But they're like, Brent, why don't you go take a look at this thing over here called Oracle, just to get me out of the fold. All right, so let's go back in here and let's continue working with the notebook and see if we can put something together that's vaguely usable. So I can close the query window now because I'm not going to need that. It turned out Sandance is like my dancing, evidently. So then here's the, that was just so terrible. So we're going to do with a bar, we're going to use the first column as a label. We're going to put the legend on the bottom and say, okay, this is roughly as close as we get to a usable, the kind of thing that's in the blog post. And of course, I can just change the aspect ratio of Azure Data Studio. I can just change the aspect of Azure Data Studio and it's going to resize this graph, right? Let's try to play the query again. And then let's try and go into the chart again. Okay, cool. Oh, you son of a... I got to click configure chart again. I got to change this over to use the first column as label. I got to put the thing on the bottom and I got to click close again. Whatever. Ship it. God, it doesn't even look. God. I have fine words. Who was it that said, Catalyst? Catalyst, you said it feels like they haven't gotten the basics right yet. Catalyst, I might be coming back around to your side. I think you might actually be a little bit more correct. But, okay. So at least this gets me a starting point though now. So that was the first blog post, or the first thing that was inside the post was what versions are the most popular. Now let's go add the next piece. So I'm going to add another piece of text and we'll put the comment in for the next query that we're going to go and run. So the next query we'll go and figure out is, let's go back over to the original post. Oh, what versions are people using in development? Because I wanted to see if people might be developing in newer versions to prep for future adoption. Like, are they already moving towards 2019 for their development? Okay, so to figure this out, I can't tell for Azure, because Azure, there's not really such a thing as development versus production. Renee sends me a video that explains Sandance. Renee, I've been rickrolled before. You're not going to get me that easily. But no, you might absolutely be right in terms of explaining Sandance, but I'm not going to waste the viewer's time trying to go watch a video when the button's supposed to just work. I'm supposed to be able to push the button. It says push the visualizer button, and it's supposed to... I swear a lot. I have the most potty mouth. Renee says it just works on my machine. Oh, great. Great. It works on your machine, Renee. Oh, that's fantastic. Renee, do you work for Microsoft? I bet you do. It works on your machine, so everybody else is going to be fine, aren't they, Renee? Renee, you know better. Renee says you can't do it in notebooks. Renee, you weren't paying attention. You must be broke as hell if you can't even pay attention, because I copied the whole query out. I clicked File, New Query. Glue your eyes to the screen, Renee. Click New. Paste it in here. This is not a notebook, Renee. I'm going to go click Run. I'm going to go put it in the reader. Then go, so here it is. Now I got this little visualizer icon here, Renee. This isn't in a notebook. I click it. I click it. I click it, Renee. Renee, you see over there in the corner? Go have a seat. Go have a seat over in the corner. No, I'm having fun with Renee, of course. Renee, I appreciate you trying to help out. That's cool. But works on your machine is not okay. Don't ever let those words escape your mouth again. Unless you're a developer, in which case it's totally okay to do that. Right, Richie? Right? Huh? All right, so let's come back out of here. Spirit Life says, keep clicking. Maybe the 300th time it'll work. I want to believe. Okay, so, and Angus says swearing helps. It helps me, at least. I find it healthy to vent those kinds of things. And it really might be one of those things where it only works on Windows, or it only works on Linux, or it only works if you're within a 15-mile radius of Redmond and you got a company-owned laptop, whatever. So the next question that we were going to solve was, what versions are people using in development? What I was saying was is that I can't really tell for production versus development in Azure because it's all just one price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip out the Azure portions of this query, and I'm only going to focus on the on-premises SQL Server versions. But then I'm going to be looking at edition. So edition, if someone's using developer edition, is the mix different for production versus, it only works if you turn off your ad blocker. Yeah, exactly. You must be willing to accept these Facebook cookies, and then it starts working. All right, so let's go get the query, the original query, because I want to say we had edition inside there, and we do. So let's grab edition. And then new edition. Let's copy paste this. I wonder if I can duplicate code blocks. That would be kind of cool. No. Okay, that's all right. I can live without that. If I got to pick something to live without, that's all right. So now down here, we'll say, what versions are people using in development? Because Renee says it works on, no, that's totally, I'm not going to say that. So now we've got that. Let's go add a code break or go add a code block. So here's my code block. Renee says, Brent, drink more coffee. That's probably the solution. Then let's go get, so props engine edition is the other thing that I need inside here. So I will say props engine edition. And then I'm going to group by that also. This is just for me to first check and see what edition I need to filter for. So let's go run the query. That's engine edition. That's useless for me. I didn't want engine edition. I don't want product version. Where am I getting development from? Where am I getting development from? Is it it's product version. Moron. Product version, come back over here, and it's product version, and then let's hit execute. That's not it either. Okay, all right. So we tried, it's edition. It's edition. It's just edition. Yeah. Yes. So we're going to say in development, we're going to say and props edition like developer. So now let's try that again so that we're only getting the developer edition stuff. And there it is. So now we, I don't want to group by that though, because now I have both let's all take a moment and raise a glass to some poor soul in this list who's the top in the list, who is still running SQL Server 2008, 32-bit developer edition. Oh. person. So now I can rip out all the, I'm going to leave the Azure stuff in there just in case if they ever added a developer edition up in Azure. I don't know if they ever would, but we'll give it a shot. Now I don't need to group by edition anymore because now I have everything that I need down inside here. So let's take out the group by and then go run the query again. You thought your job sucked. So here are the people who are running Developer Edition. Now, let's look at these numbers here for a second, and let's go see. So, in terms of, you know what I really want is I want a percentage. I want a percentage too, so that I can see what percent are skewing towards newer versions. Yeah, that would be kind of cool, and I'll add that in after the broadcast. But if I look at the mix, so you get a feeling here that the majority up in all versions, not just development, but in all editions, in all editions up top, the majority of people are on 2016, and then they're moving towards 2017. 2019, we have 102 out there. If I look down at development, now you see a slightly different mix here. You also see different color coding. I don't really know why they do this, whatever. Okay, it's hard-coded in order. That might actually be interesting. Okay, so 2016 is still the highest one. I have to hold my finger here because SQL Server can't manage to, Azure Data Studio can't manage to get this stuff together. 2016 is the highest one, and then the next highest one is 2017, and then 2019 isn't that far off from older versions. That's different from what we see up here. 2017 is also the highest up here, but look how far behind 2019 is up in production. That mimics what you would think is going to happen out in the real world. People are more likely to adopt 2019 and newer versions in development before they are over in production. So that's also an interesting thing. If I look at the top graph is everything including development. What if I exclude development up top? Because you can see that a big chunk of our servers coming down further, a big chunk of our 2019 servers are actually in development, not yet in production. So let's go copy that out just to see, and then come up here in the production query. Not a big fan of that. In the production query, and go run, and go look at the chart. And now, if I look at production versions, so now I have to say not like, and now when I hit execute, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to go fix the chart again, go change it to chart, go change to configure the chart, use the first column as the label, put the labels on the bottom, click close. I seriously hope my friends from Microsoft are using this, or like sit around and record a video of people using the product, how people actually have to use the product, and it will be eye-opening, it will be jaw-dropping. Stop working on features like trying to query Oracle and things like that. As you can see here, so now we can see the adoption rate on SQL Server 2019. Once we filter out development, take a look at this as opposed to all the way over there, SQL Server 2008 R2. Take a look at 2008. So 2008, 66 instances out there in the wild. 2019, hey, 2019, the adoption rate is beating SQL Server 2008. That's fantastic. That actually wasn't the case last time we ran this thing, I don't think. So that's kind of cool. Peter says how many people use non-development edition for development, and backwards, how many people run production with development edition licensing. There are some questions, Peter, that you don't really want the answer to. Certainly I don't, in terms of legal reasons. So now when I change the query, one thing that you'll notice, so what I just did was I deleted that line in the query. When you change the query, you also need to refresh the results down at the bottom. Just file this away for when you need to do corporate fraud. When you need to do corporate fraud, you write the query that produces the rosy results that you want, hit play, you get the nice execution down, or the results down here at the bottom that makes it look like your company's making money. Then you go up here and you fix it so that the query is correct, that it doesn't reflect your fraud, click save, and it looks like the query results actually reflect your desired reality, not necessarily the sad truth that your company is worth $1.45. So let's hit play on here so that we have the accurate results. Configure the chart. The first column is the label. Click on bottom, click close. All right, so now we have that. It's back to normal, back to the way that it was. We have what versions are people using in development. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to click File Save so that I can save this thing. That means that I'm going to have to reset my connection again, the next query that I run. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm not really fine with that. What's the next one? How much data do servers have? How much data do servers have? And this is kind of interesting. So the way that I group this out, I grouped it out by what I tend to talk customers through, like roughly 100 gig chunks. And these chunks were the only easy way that I could get it into Excel to show that the negative, or the from 0 to 25 gigs is a huge chunk of the population. I'm going to have to do this same kind of grouping now manually in my query instead of having Excel do it. And I'm totally okay with that. I should have been doing that anyway. Eamon says, good lesson for faking reports. My pleasure. You come for one thing and you get something totally different. So how much data do servers have here? And notice that it says in production only, so I need to add that filter inside there. So let's go figure out how we're going to run that. Over on my original report, so over on the original report, the size of the files is here. Now I should stop for a second and say that I'm only looking at the sizes of the files. I'm not looking at the contents in them. I'm not looking at how much data people have inside their files, only because it would take longer. This at least gets me a fast sketch out of what the population looks like. If some poor fool has a 10 terabyte file and no data in it, that's going to be interesting as well. Good morning, Crazy Tech. Good to see you. So let's copy that out. We'll take this out and paste it. Well, actually, I need to copy paste the code from my code block instead. So let's copy this. And what did we call the original title? We called it How Much Data Do Servers Have? So how much data do servers have? And this, put a note, only reflects data file sizes, not contents. And I'll type more stuff out there in terms of the note. I'm basically going to take the things that were in the blog post and go copy paste them over into here instead. Then I'm going to go add my code block, and I will paste in the earlier code block that we had here. Now, I don't need the version stuff. I can rip the version pieces completely out because I don't need the SQL Server version at all. I don't need the sum1 as servers. Good to see you as well, Nor. I'm going to say not like developer because we're specifically talking about production here. Then let's go back over to get our size query, copy, because it matters, and then paste it in here. So how am I going to make this work? So this used to be a subquery, and I would kind of rather not make it a subquery. How do I do that? Well, one way I like doing that is, there are lots of ways to do this. We'll say, oh, I want it rounded. Oh, this is going to be tricky. Oh, D. Dave says, good cap, where can I buy? It's a Good Company cap, actually. You can buy them from Good Company Barbecue in Houston, Texas. So what am I going to have to do here? I think I'm really going to have to rewrite this query from scratch. So I'm getting, oh, it's a sum, though. Oh, this is interesting. All right, so this might take a minute in order to rewrite. I'm going to leave this one and go on to another one, only to show y'all a different example. Just because I'm watching, screw it, I have to do it anyway. Let's go for it. So what I have to do here, Guitar Ultimate. Oh, very cool. So what do I have to do here is I have to get the list of servers. I don't think I need user at all. I don't need server property. I don't need So that's good. Now I'm going to join sysdmos performance counters. And now you start to see how knowledge about SQL Server and the DMVs starts to help you here. So now here are my filters. Copy on. So we'll say on VCS connection. I do love the IntelliSense that's even just built into here, just inside Azure Data Studio without having to install anything else. You get pieces. He says, I don't think they ship to Brazil. I don't think they ship, period. It's a restaurant. Oh, Oscar, thank you. Welcome to the club. I appreciate it. So here, I love the autocomplete that they have built into here. This is good. This is nice. It shows I'm going to join based on these two columns here, my connection IDs. That's the thing that makes things join well. So then I'm also joining on all these columns because I specifically only want the user database data sizes. So I am going to need Crazy Tech. Well, Crazy Tech, that's not really related to today's topic, so I'm going to hold off on that and just focus on the stuff that I'm doing today. Sometimes I do open questions and answers. I'm not doing that today, though. So let's get the sum. So we get our sum. Philip, thank you. I appreciate it. Very cool. So let's go get our sum here, and this will give us, we'll call this as total data file size. And then that gets me, oh, and GB, I'll call it GB just to make the measurement really clear. Then I'm gonna also get the collection ID, BCS collection ID, connection ID, because that is the unique row for one specific server. So what I'm basically doing here is grouping together which servers have how much data. Good morning, Boca Raton. It's probably a beautiful day down there, Rodman. Now, group by one, let's be good and let's name this out, VCS connection ID. And I'm not going to order by, I am going to say, okay, so here's the query that I want. I think this gives me everything that I need. Now what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to put them into buckets based on size. But what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and run this. I'll just go hit execute on this to go see how this goes. So execute, missing from clause. Okay, great. Yep, that would be a problem. Oh, it turns out that I do need the email because I want to exclude my own servers because I upload my own servers as well. So let's go get that join that we had in our earlier. There's that little fella. Copy. And because I don't think collection server has, let's go see if it has email. It might actually have email. It does not have email. Okay. Oh, thanks, Crazy Tech. I appreciate it. So we'll also do a join up here to registered user. I try to be good, and I know Richie isn't happy with this. I try to be good and always put inner join on my joins. I know Richie isn't happy with that, but I just like to be explicit when I'm doing demos for y'all. All right, so let's try it now. Missing from table for collection props. That's fair. I don't have the properties. Okay, that's cool. Let's go get that. And properties. I didn't think that I needed the server properties, but it turns out that I do. And now let's run it again. Run. There we go. Okay, so now the query is off and running. I actually expect that one to take some amount of time because here's the deal. There are hundreds of millions of rows over in that perfmon counter table. And I didn't tune this query. You saw me run the other one, and it runs in less than 3 seconds when I run this whole entire query, but I tuned the bejesus out of this one. So because of that, I expect this to take a little bit longer, and sure enough, it does. All right, so now we have 3,551 rows. Now, let's stop for a second here. 3,551 rows. Now, that's different than the 3,800 rows that we started with, but the reason behind that is we're excluding the development edition boxes now. Now, we're just only talking about the user databases on production servers, so the number is going to end up being lower here. Believe it or not, some people have servers with no data files on them. They just have SQL Server sitting around there that they either haven't implemented yet, they're sitting in a staging type setup, etc. Okay, so now I have their total data file size, and some of you are probably going to be interested to know who's the largest. So I'm going to go order by 2 descending, just so that y'all can see it. I'm not going to have that as part of the final finished product, but now you can see just in terms of what's out there. There's 25 terabytes, 18 terabytes, 17 terabytes. SQL Server can go pretty large. I've seen SQL servers much larger than that too as well, but it gives you a feel for what's out there in constant care. So this gives me the servers individually. Now I want to lump them into groups. Now I want to categorize them. So I could use a case statement again for this. It's probably not the most elegant. Somebody who's really smart, like an Itzik Ben-Gan or an Eric Darling, would probably come up with a derived table with like min and max ranges. I'm not going to be that fancy. I'm just going to do a case statement because I'm not that bright, and also my coffee shop opens in 45 minutes. Case, oh, you know, instead of doing the round sum, so I might, well, let's try it. Case round sum when less than equal to 25, then 0 to 25. And let's see, we'll call this, oh, this is going to present a problem. Else other as size category. So let's see how this works. Execute. Syntax error less than or case this when that. So evidently I don't understand how case syntax works over in Postgres. Case when, let's do this, when this less than or equal to 25, then this. Now you try that. Syntax near as end. There we go. So that works there, and then hit execute. Yeah, it's just you, Mac Genie. Syntax near at what the? Oh, as end. You moron. As execute. 14th tries the charm. And there we go. So now I have my size categories inside there. And of course, because I'm ordering by size descending. Now I need to go get the list of categories that I have. So let's go back over to my blog post. I'm going to put that on the right-hand side. And then I'm going to put, I did not want to do that. I'm going to go put Azure Data Studio over on the left and my size picture over on the right, just so that we can go see it a little bit more easily there. I'll move it up so that you can see it above my head. Now let's go write our case statement over here. So I really don't want to copy paste this like 40 times. I really want just a simpler case statement with, let's try one other thing. Case cut when, let's see if this works, and then execute it. SQL Dev DBA says, is end tile available? I'll let you go ahead and hit the documentation for Postgres if you want. I'm going to keep the exact same categories that I had from last quarter, just so that I have things nice and exactly identical to the last quarter's blog. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how things change over time once we hit 1 year of these blog posts directly. Well, let's go hit the documentation for Postgres on the case statement. So Postgres case statement. Let's go see how that works. Documentation. And then over here, yeah, Crazy Tech. Yep, exactly. And rather than reintroduce the same topic, if you want to watch the beginning of the stream, go back and catch up on the beginning of the stream just because we're like an hour and a half in. Okay, so we have, let's go. So there's case. Maybe they don't have case case when, oh, that's what I want. The following is a specialized variant. Case when this, else this, then. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. Case this round, when 25. That looks like exactly what I want, but it's giving me case A when 1. That looks like exactly what I'm doing here, but it's giving me that. Oh, maybe it doesn't let me do less than or equal to. Maybe it only does specific values. Oh, that sucks. That's miserable. Oh, yeah. SQL Dev DBA says can't use greater than or less than. Postgres, you suck. So, all right. Kind of hell comical database is this? I love SQL Server. Less than or equal to 25. All right, so in that case, we'll just Now let's go back over to our original size pieces, and we'll say, looks like I said less than 25, so we'll do that. When less than equal to 125, then 25 to 125, we'll call this less than. Well, actually, I'll come back to why I'm going to do that. A little weird. You're going to see that the sorting on this is going to be a little weird when I go to sort it. 125 to 225, let's just paste this down a few times. So 225, 325, 425, 5, 6, 7, and 825, 925, 1025, and then else will be enorme, greater than 1025. So now I got to come back over here and do this piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, and Malloy says case when. Yep, remember I said we already tried that and it didn't seem to work. But if not, go watch the recordings. And, oh, you're nailing this. Oh, you're getting me on this piece there. It's always tough to understand what people mean when they just put in 2 words. They're like, elephant, zebra. I'm like, what? Is there one behind me? No, elephant, zebra. I'm like, so we got that. Now let's go 225, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So what's going to suck about this when I go to execute this? Let's make this big so that we can see it again better. So what's going to suck about this when I go to sort it is that it's not going to sort correctly. And if I group these together, they're not going to sort correctly, especially if I want to chart them. But let's go give it a shot and see what happens. Now I no longer need VCS connection ID. I no longer need data file size gigabytes. DBA says when, okay, yep, good catch. Good catch. And the SQL Dev DBA, thank you for typing out exactly what you're trying to say there. That's magical. And I wonder if Alt-Shift works in here. It does not. No, it does not. Oh, it works in terribly the opposite way that I wanted it to. Started duplicating lines. So much for that. Thank you. Welcome to the club, Rao. I appreciate it. So let's give that a shot. Let's save this, file save, and then let's execute it, and let's go see what happens. I forgot to do a group by. So let's stop there, and then I'm going to do a group by inside there. And then say someone as servers. So group by, oh, no, I can't. Oh, I can group by VCS connection ID. Okay, I can do this. All right, this is the first piece, is that we're going to say this will give me the number of rows. Group by 1, I don't need an order by anymore. So, and I might as well get the connection ID. Let's go grab that. VCS connection ID. All right, so let's go. So that, I think, that looks pretty good. Let's go execute that. So now what this is going to give me is, it gives me all of the connections and what size tier they're in. Now I got to group them together. For ease of use for me, I'm just going to use a CTE for that. I'm going to say with individual servers as, so here's my CTE. I should really tab that in. Because that'll come in handy later. I'll reuse that for other stuff. Select size, what do I call it? Size category? Size category, someone as servers from individual servers, group by size category. Now order by size category. And this is going to be the part that sucks. So when I go to run this, the ordering by this, I don't expect to look right. Yeah, look at that order by there. Ugh. So this is going to suck because I really want this organized by the size that it is, like 0 to 25, 100 to 25, and so forth. So there are probably a lot of smart ways to do that. I am not a very smart man, especially when I look at the time and I'm trying to get out of here in half an hour and have this whole blog post completely done, or the data at least for the blog post. So what I'm going to do is something that's going to utterly horrify you, and I just don't care because I'm going to overwrite all my work. I'm going to copy this out. I'm going to give myself a little bit of space so that y'all understand what I'm doing. And I'm going to say one of you, SQL Dev DBA said hold down Alt, Shift, and the click, and it might work. Yes! Woo! Now I can go back and say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then size category ID, and we'll call this one 12. So now we're going to order by, group by size category ID, order by size category ID. Yes. SQL Dev has all kinds of other ideas. Remember I said I'm just ripping through as fast as I can in order to do this. I still got like half a dozen more queries to go. I won't be able to do it fast enough in order to show you all this stuff. So here we have it. Yes. Oh. So now I can go through and turn this into a chart. I can go click configure chart, use the first column as a label, put the label on the bottom, put the lotion on its skin. So now I have just a rough distribution here, and this will be good enough, I suppose. I'll also, when I ship the blog post, I will ship it in both length of column. Mark, I'll let you experiment with that. I'm not going to go into that. No. Thank you for the suggestion. No. So here, this gives me everything that I need for that one. Ship it. On we go. So let's go see what the next query is. Let's hit File, Save. And then let's go look at the next query that we have to go right. So let's see. We looked at data size for production only. Is Enterprise Edition normal for larger databases? I'm not going to run that query again here. I'm going to leave that. It's not a piece of analysis that I was interested in after the first couple. The numbers were the same in terms of this analysis versus other analyses, so I'm going to skip that. This one's interesting to me though. How much hardware do production servers get? Let's see if this is changing in over time. So the number of CPU cores for production servers. Let's go see. So the place that you get cores out of, well, there are a few ways to get them, but the place I'm getting it from is sysdmos schedulers. Sysdmos schedulers is the number of CPU cores that SQL Server has lit up. You might be on a box that has 48 cores, but due to affinity masking, maybe you've set it to 20, or you have a SQL Server licensing problem. So here, I'm counting up the cores that have a status of visible online or visible offline, like something broke in terms of the licensing or your affinity masking. So let's go copy paste out the last query that we did. We'll say in terms of add code. Oh, I didn't want to add code. I wanted to add text. So how much hardware do production servers get? And then let's go copy out that last query and go put it in down here. Now the last query, we were joining out to sysdmos performance counters. Here we're going to join out to sysdmos schedulers. Welcome to the club, Shakapic. Shakapic, ShakaCon, and hi Brockdar as well. So sysdmos schedulers, let's go grab that. Sysdmos schedulers, and I'll call this CPU on VCS connection ID equals CPU connection ID. And then there's a filter that I need on there to say that CPU status is online or offline. Either of those two mean that the core is in the CPUs are in the box. So there goes that. Now I have the CPUs. The reason why I want to copy the query just before this is because this is also a grouping kind of query, that there are going to be lots of rows in sysdmos schedulers for every single one SQL server. So now let's go see the grouping on this guy. What's the grouping on this particular post? Let's go see. So this one was, this time I'll just move this around just to make this a little easier. Move Hugh over here. So there we go. There's our CPU cores. Now let's move you over here. So let's see here. For this one, I'm going to say case when someone, because there's just going to be one row for each individual CPU scheduler. Case when someone is less than or equal to 4, then 1 to 4. Copy. I don't copy this time. This time I'll be a little smarter. In case when someone is less than or equal to 8, then 5 to 8. And now I'm going to copy paste that a bunch of times. So we have, let's just dump a bunch of those inside there. So it looks like I went 12, 16, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, and then else is greater than 33. Greater than, it should be actually, that's greater than or equal to 33. Then this is 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 16 is the loneliest number that you've ever seen. 21 to 24. My grandpa always used to sing just whenever he was puttering around the house, and I always thought it was so endearing. And then when he passed away, I realized that I was always doing the same thing. I was always like, do, 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 do. And which also as a result means that when I walk around, I hum things that he did, which I've never even heard the original of. And then I also hum things that just don't even make sense. Like I hum Christmas songs all the time when I'm just walking around the house. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go, which is idiotic because I'm in San Diego. Never looks like Christmas here. We'll get rid of that. So then 3, I hate it when that happens. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 as size category ID. Then I don't even think I have to change anything else about that server, about that query. That's kind of baller. Let's go hit execute. And then let's watch and see. Oh, because it's not PC data. Where the hell did PC? Oh, you moron. You left a whole range of queries inside there. Got that. Okay, wonder why that query was so long. And now I don't need a trailing comma. Okay, that's good. All right, will it compile? All right, beautiful. So now we can see how much how many CPU cores these things get. Now, in the sense of graphing, I should probably, instead of calling it size category, I should probably call it as number or CPU cores. Okay, so there's that. I love that. Of course, I got to rerun this in order to get the accurate results down inside there. Then I can click on the graph. I can click on configure chart. I can hire a subcontractor to click these same things for me every time. Richie! This is why Richie's like probably cringes every time he hears me start coding. Okay, beautiful. So now I have this. This is, oh, because there's a, watch what happens when I try to move around there. It's like the world's, there's one server. Colin says your old graphs were showing a %. Yes, what I'm gonna have to do is I wanna give people 2 versions of this. I wanna give them the % and I wanna give them the raw number. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back through these queries and I'm gonna go give the table version of it. Also, I'm gonna add a percentage column in for each of these because realistically, it's gonna take me longer than 2 hours in order to pull this off. All right, so let's stop over here for a second. Oh man, it's getting light over into here. I'm going to have to close out some of the background here so that y'all can actually see me. So we are coming in to the closer to the end of our broadcast. So I'm going to take a quick bio break here and go refuel my water in before I go take another shot inside here. Bill Ramos says, I'm feeling pretty inspired. The compatibility of Postgres and T-SQL is pretty good. I just did something like this with VMware. Yeah, I'm amazed by how how much database knowledge carries over from one platform to another, that they're really highly similar. And the places where they're different, it's not that different. Although when you think about things like stored procedures in Postgres, functions in Postgres, those are dramatically different. But this is why they're so close in the beginning, and they have so many edge cases where they're different, that's why people think, oh, I'm just going to forklift my application and move it over to this other platform. And you might as well just crumple it up into a ball and rewrite the whole thing, because they're just not that compatible where you could forklift, upgrade, and move across. Pinal says, does the Stream Deck help in situations like formatting the charts when you're changing the formatting? Yeah, I could put together a set of hotkeys if Postgres accepted hotkeys for each of those, but I can almost guarantee you that they don't, that I would have to have some kind of app that would move the mouse around to move and re-highlight things, and just recording a macro like that is just powerful, or is just painful. What else? Bill says, I cheated with Power BI. I like Power BI a lot. And I wanted to show people like a different user interface. Like I've done Excel a lot in the past for these. Power BI would work fine here. It's just that I wouldn't be showing people how to query. You're not really querying in Power BI. You're just like a manager that just drags and drops things around. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for a brief bio break. Before I do, I'm going to say thank you to this week's sponsor. So this week's sponsor is SQL Grease. SQL Grease is a totally free monitoring tool. They have paid versions too, but you can get started with the free version right now. They have their repository up in the cloud, so you don't have to install any big, thick repository down on premises. You just install their collector, and it sends data up continuously to them, does things like extended events monitoring. They even have machine learning these days, looking for unusual query workloads, and they'll send you emails. The free version you can install at any time, and it collects data for 7 days, so it's really good for when you're trying to troubleshoot some performance issue. Then you just need to go back to their site when you want to re-up it again for a period of time. So you can go get that over at SQLGrease.com, totally free. Thanks to them for sponsoring this week's webcast. I'm going to now go hop out, go grab a refuel of water, and we'll do the last sprint of 15 minutes, go see if we can tackle one more query. So I'll see y'all back here in 15 minutes. And I think I might have said I'll see you back here in 15 minutes. I'll see you back here in 5 minutes, and then we'll work the last 15 minutes. All right. So over the break, Mac Genie goes, "Hey, could you do this query completely differently?" Sure, but I didn't. Streamlab says, okay, that's cool. Spare Delay says, it looks like Azure Data Studio is, I know I'm such a jerk. Spare Delay says, it looks like Azure Data Studio is built on or running in Visual Studio Code. You are correct. Very good eyes. It's an Electron application that shares a lot with Visual Studio Code, and they inherit a lot of the goodness from Visual Studio Code as VS Code does updates. But, I'm curious to see how they spin that going forward, because with Azure Data Studio, it has a lot of overlap with Visual Studio Code. So I'm kind of surprised. And yeah, Joris Ritchie says that Visual Studio Code is greater than Azure Data Studio. Visual Studio Code has more stuff, and it's generally newer for that. Azure Data Studio is more around just database developers, people who are just doing T-SQL, Postgres, MySQL, whatever. I agree that Azure Data Studio is a horrible name. It's like Microsoft, just the marketing people are morons, are just idiots. You're just slathering the Azure name on everything. So it results in this mass confusion with people. They're like, oh, am I only supposed to use Azure Data Studio if I'm querying in Azure? I'm like, no, it has nothing, zip, zilch, zero to do with Azure. Nothing. I mean, they might as well call it SharePoint Data Studio or Dynamics Data Studio or Cat Butthole Data Studio. It has nothing to do with Azure whatsoever. This is also how I get in trouble. Rodman says, Brent, I have SQL Server 2014 and my main software provider only supports 2016. Do you recommend upgrade to 2019 and play with the compatibility level? No, only go with what the version that your vendor supports, because if you go with anything other than what the versions that their vendor supports, they will pin the blame on you. Look, I don't have a lot of viewers. I need all the viewers that you can get. And if you get blamed for that, you're going to lose your job, and then you're going to have a lot of time to watch Twitch. You should go ahead and just upgrade to SQL Server 2019, whatever you feel like playing with. I mean, don't bother doing backups or CheckDB. You can find another job. No, in all seriousness, I would just only go with the versions that your vendor supports. They usually just don't have enough time to test on newer versions. You don't want to catch the blame if something goes wrong. Okay, so we'll do one more query. I love the writing on this. You have the same amount of hours in the day as Beyonce. So I only do have so much hours in the day. I only got like 10 minutes before my coffee shop opens downstairs. So, and I love y'all, but not as much as I like my coffee shop downstairs. So now let's look at the next query that was in our blog post. So let's say, oh, that's it. Is that, oh, no, there were more. Okay, oh, we got more. Oh, memory. Okay, how much memory do servers get? So memory, it's going to be the same exact thing that I did just a second ago with CPU cores, except for memory, I don't have to sum it up. There's just one row in, I want to say it's sysdmos memory nodes. Let's go see where we're getting the memory from. And then we will go and put the groups in together in play here in a second. We'll move this around just so I can have it up there. And there's memory. Okay, cool. So now where was I getting memory from before? Target server memory. Oh, this is tricky. Okay, so what did I say? I said server OS memory. Oh, so I only did server OS memory. I didn't do target. Interesting. Okay, so let's have a quick conversation here. So there are a couple of different counters used for memory for SQL Server. Target memory is how much SQL Server is willing to use. Like SQL Server says, well, I'm willing to use up to 64 gigs. Normally, under most situations, total memory matches that. Total memory is how much memory SQL Server is actually using. So SQL says, oh, I'd like to use 64 gigs. All right, let's use 64 gigs. But there are cases, let's say that you go and buy a big ginormous server, buy a big beefy 1 terabyte server, and you've only got like 50 gigs worth of data. SQL Server will say, I'm willing to use up to a terabyte worth of RAM, but I'm only using like 150 gigs. So target can potentially be much higher. Target is how much memory SQL Server is willing to use, not necessarily how much the OS has, because the OS may have more than that, but you might have capped max memory at a lower number. This number target shouldn't be higher than your max server memory setting permanently. It will be briefly, like if all of a sudden you set max memory down way lower, there may be very brief periods where target is still high before target readjusts. But otherwise, you can think of target memory as how much memory SQL Server is willing to use. I may have other things inside here. Yeah, it looks like sysdmos memory I also have, and that is how much memory the box has. You might have multiple instances installed on the same box. So I did in the chart, I did how much memory the server OS has, which is this number right here, OS total physical memory. I don't need any grouping inside here because there's only one row in sysdmos memory, so that makes this query a little bit easier. Let's go back over to our notebook. Now, if we don't need all this crazy, well, we do need actually the grouping. We do need the grouping because we're going to, over in the blog post, we're going to group things together by how much memory these guys have. So let's go ahead and copy this thing out. And we'll say, for next text, how much memory does the server OS have? And then we'll add another piece of code and paste that in here. Now for this one, instead of going from sysdmos schedulers, now I'm going to sysdmos memory nodes. Was it? It's not nodes that I'm getting it from, is it? No, it's sysdmos memory. I don't know why I always make that noise whenever I copy paste. OS on VCS connection ID equals OS. That's the wrong one. OS connection ID. There's that one. Yep. Now, we don't want developer servers. That's absolutely perfect. Now, instead of sum1, now I'm going to be getting, what's the column that I'm using for memory? It is this guy right here. Memory OS gigabytes. Oh, SQL Dev DBA just bought t-shirts and whatnot. I have t-shirts, caps, hoodies, all stickers, all kinds of stuff available on my Twitch channel. So if you search for Brent Ozar Twitch, you'll see that's where you can buy all my stuff at. And I don't make any money on it at all. It's just because I always got the questions of where can I go get the cap that you have for my, usually I wear my company cap on stuff like this. But so I let y'all go buy it and I don't make any money on it. I eat bogeys. I'll give you that answer after I finish this query. I'll go through and write this query and then we'll go answer that one. So copy and then, so now where am I getting this at? Case when, paste. So here is, this gives me the gigabytes. I don't really need to divide it that much. Yeah, I'm gonna though. Why not? Screw it. So now 0 is 0 to 15. So 15, then fifths 0 to 15. Now I need a bunch of these whens, and let's set this one up to be a little bit easier on the copy pasting. So then we're gonna say just delete all this. And then, actually, we'll delete this too, just to make it easier for copy pasting. And copy. So we got a bunch of categories. So the next ones are 31, 47, 63. Who the hell came up with these categories? 95. 111. And some of you asked why I didn't do like entile or just break them up into percentages. The reason why is I want to stick with the exact same categories that I've been using so far for about the last 6 months, 9 months, so that I can be consistent when I start trending stuff line over or year over year. And as greater than 192. Colin says, will multi-instance installations be counted multiple times? Yes. So each instance will have its own collection server row. Whoopsie, its own collection server row. So if you have 10 servers or one server that has 10 instances on it, it'll report whatever the total number is for each of those. And it's okay if people do instance stacking. I hate it from a personal level, but people do it out there. Or they'll have multi-instance clusters that fail over from place to place. another metric to look at would be the target and total memory counters. That would be the per instance number. Okay, so this one is 16 to 31. This one is 32 to 47. This one is 64 to 79. This one is 80 to 95. This, man, you know too, when I publish this blog post, people are going to go, they're going to be giving me so much poop in the comments about the code that I have in Azure Data Studio. They're going to be like, your queries are terrible. That's what it is. That's what it's like whenever you ship open source stuff, is that you think people are going to really criticize you in the comments. They think that you think that they're not going to give you props for giving back to the community. In reality, I screwed up one of these columns. 32 to 47, 60. Wow, you dirty little. Okay, no, that's cool. I'm going to change this. It's easier to change one of these. It's easier to change this to 48 to 63, and then change this guy to 79, 95, 111, 127, 43, 59, 75, 92. Delete you. So you think that people are going to criticize you for the quality of your work. And in reality, people are just thankful to get stuff like this for free. They really appreciate you giving back. They would never criticize you in public. Okay, I lied. They always criticize you in public. 0, and now I can use my fancy Alt-Shift type thing. I seriously think that the less people pay for things, the worse of a customer they are. And I bet like Microsoft probably feels the same way about me complaining about Azure Data Studio. They're like, Brent's never paid us a damn penny. And that's not true. I've actually paid Microsoft tens of thousands of dollars personally because of the Microsoft Certified Master Program. Don't even get me started on that. 12. All right, so there's that. I think that gives me everything that I want there in terms of grouping. So now for size category, this is going to be memory OS gigabytes. And let's see how she goes. Let's hit play. Diego MB says, thanks, or I appreciate what you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very cool. And now I have an incorrect syntax there. Oh, incorrect syntax error near as. Okay, so what did I do here? Where is the incorrect syntax near as? Sure would help if I had a line number. What did I screw up? So I have end 190. Oh, no, that's right there. Else 12 end as. Else 12 end as. That's right. I think that's right. Else greater than 192. There's an as down here. Syntax error near as. Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Genie Owen. I just hit play. No, thought it maybe had to do with me highlighting something. Case went round. Oh, you moron. What the hell? You moron. Hold down Shift and Alt. Get into here, delete, then this, Shift Alt, delete, U, delete, and then execute. Must appear in the group by. I'm not grouping anything. Oh, in here I am. Okay, I no longer need that. I don't need a group by inside there. Execute. Oh, yay. So now I can chart this, and of course I won't even make a joke about how I have to go click these same things every single time in order to get the right rows out. And here, now it's starting to look a little janky with the number of rows that I have. It might actually make more sense just because of Azure Data Studio's craptastic. No, that's terrible. I wanted to run. That doesn't even make sense. Data direction horizontal. Okay, so the bars are laid out horizontally. Now I want vertical instead. So I click configure chart, data direction, vertical. Oh, you know what? I bet it's going to be a different. Yeah, okay. So it's now called horizontal bar up there. All right, and then use. I have to check this again. And then legend over there on the left. Who builds this stuff? So at least now the stuff's vaguely nearby and close. Why there's a line in the middle, I have no idea. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay, that's fine. Whatever, ship it. So file and save and ship it, and we are out of here. So now hopefully at least, switch back over here to so now at least y'all get an idea of what it's like to work with Azure Data Studio. In the past, when I built this exact same blog post, I have used Excel rather than Azure Data Studio, just because in Excel with pivot tables, it's relatively straightforward to build something. Although I would say that the looks of the blog post aren't really that fantastic when I use Azure or when I use Excel. So I thought, well, this time around I'll use Azure Data Studio. I'll put the stuff in a notebook. That way y'all can get it. And oh, Yuba, thank you. I appreciate it. Very cool. So I'll distribute the blog post with this video and with the notebook, along with my thoughts in there about the numbers and how the population looks different this quarter. Next quarter, who knows? We'll see if Azure Data Studio has its pants on then. One of you said, where did you say? One of you asked a question. I Eat Bogies. I Eat Bogies said, when would you not use a SQL or relational schema for a database? Key value stores, if you're passing in a key and you just want a value back. So great example is pastetheplan.com. At pastetheplan.com, we have this tool where you can paste your execution plans. We don't run any relational queries against them. So all you do is pass in your execution plan. We give you a key back that you then paste in as a URL every time. Whenever you want to get your plan back, you go to that URL and we give you the plan. We don't do any querying inside there. So a key value store makes perfect sense. You may not store the execution plan in the database itself. Maybe you just store, for example, the location of a file where the execution plan lives, like in Amazon S3, for example. But that's a great use for a non-SQL type database. Well, that's everything that I wanted to teach y'all this week. Thanks again to SQL Grease. Thanks again to SQL Grease for sponsoring this week. Totally free monitoring tool to go get started with. You can go download it, start analyzing your SQL servers. I tell people, never just use your own monitoring scripts. Always get some kind of second opinion. You want a second opinion before it's too late, before you find out that you don't have backups, that you have corruption, all those kinds of problems. So go download SQL Grease. It is completely free, and you can go get started and get analysis on your database server in a matter of minutes. That's over at sqlgrease.com. So thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me this week, and I will see y'all next week. Adios, everybody.